And good morning and welcome to Nature Watch. Nature Watch is sponsored by Waddell's Nursery, Floral Garden, and Bird Center at the corner of 12th Street and Millam Road. And now your host of Nature Watch and blueberry bush seller, Gary Miller. I had to say that. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, my roommate went to Waddell's. Actually, the text came over as Waddles. It must have been a voice text or whatever. But, yeah, she said you tried to sell her a blueberry bush.
Well, she was asking about him. So, actually, she shared a little neat story, too. She said you had a pair of cardinals, male and female, one on either side of the feeder. And the female was picking out seed, going away. And the male was selectively finding those choice morsels, and then would find that choice morsel and go on the other side of the feeder and offer it to the female. A little romanticism going on.
How special.
That was a neat story. You don't see that all the time, so it's not something neat to see.
Hey, let's do the big bird story. Hummingbirds.
Yes, so actually a couple big bird stories. Hummingbirds are back.
Yes.
The Orioles are back. So the Orioles and the Hummingbirds, to some extent, I think they got sort of held up by the all the weather systems that were following the Ohio River Valley. Had some pretty significant storms, and so they didn't want to try to go across those storms. So they sort of queued up to come north. And, so lots of confirmed sightings this week in Michigan of hummingbirds. We'll see a lot of them coming, even more of them here in the next week or so. So make sure you've got those feeders out. Same thing with the Orioles. Lots of confirmed sightings yesterday and the day before in Michigan. So they moved rather rapidly once that those weather systems moved out of the way.
Oh, okay. Something to let you know about, as one of my coworkers just sent me a text. Consumers Energy, there is a rather substantial power outage in the Northwest Portage area, bordering pretty much 131 on the west and Celery Flats to the east, down not quite to East Center, but pretty much 94 131 south.
So a good majority of Portage.
Quite a bit of the city of Portage is out of power right now.
Ooh. Well, at least it's not freezing out, so you don't have to worry about the heat, which is a good thing. So big change in the weather too. Oh my goodness! Almost 90 this week. We were about 20 degrees colder this morning than yesterday morning.
Oh, I know it.
And those winds, pretty windy. We had a little bit of wind chill out there, and this actually makes it a little cooler. Some of those wind have some gusts occasionally, too. I felt them occasionally coming up 131. Did see 3 turkeys grazing north of Schoolcraft off in the grass on the side of the highway. They were not paying attention to vehicles or the wind. They were just looking for food. But lots of birds around. Wow. Right now, I was looking at some of the confirmed sightings of all the birds in the area. Lots of confirmed sightings of warblers, all sorts of warblers, migrating towards the north. So if you have a chance here in the next week or so, it'd be a great time to see some of those birds you typically don't see in this area. And lots of different warblers. So last Monday, my youngest daughter saw a bald eagle on the ground, probably feeding on some carrion or so, but on the ground just east of Vicksburg. And so pretty neat to see. On that same day, I was out for a little walk, and I saw a red-headed woodpecker. Actually, it was fun. I haven't seen one of those for a while. So I grew up with them. That was the most common woodpecker I saw when I was growing up. And the red-headed woodpecker's population is not as great as it used to be, and they're not near as big a population as downies or red bellies. So fun to see that. Also noted that I saw marsh marigold blooming this week. It's a good sign of spring, too. May apples are up. So lots of spring activity going on, and I've noticed that some of those trees are dropping their little pollen and spreading it around because my somewhat environmental allergies have kicked in this week.
Yeah, me too.
So 'tis the season, I guess.
That's right. It's yeah. You see, you have a different outlook of signs of spring. The NFL draft is my sign of spring.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
There you go. You know what? We need to give away a prize. Because we always do that every Saturday morning.
I think this is going to be a gimme this morning, but I thought it'd be very giving today. Yeah. So
all right. Well, for anyone that might be new here, every Saturday morning we give away a $20 gift card to Waddell's Nursery, Floral Garden, and Bird Center to the person that can correctly answer Gary's trivia question, which usually involves a little bit of Googling, but that's fine and dandy. But $20 gift card up for grabs to this question.
So this one might not even involve any Googling. I'm gonna bet there's some folks out there that will know the answer to this without even Googling.
Softball?
That's a big softball.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
We'll see.
Okay.
So there's not very many birds that can hover, but there's only one bird that can hover and fly backwards. What is that bird?
269-382-4280 if you know the answer. A bird that can hover and fly backwards.
So we have some pair of mallards that are nesting in the big pond at Waddell's. They've done that numerous years, and it's sort of fun walking around the nursery, and all of a sudden you have this duck drop into the pond.
Yeah, there you go. Good morning, WKZO. Who is this?
Good morning, guys.
Oh, wait, I know who this is. I know that voice. It's Mary.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
What's your answer?
Well, is it the hummingbird?
Yes, it is.
Boom.
Big softball, but actually it's fun to talk about because hummingbirds are the only bird that can fly backwards.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. The hummingbirds are back, so Gary threw up the
I thought it was
softball.
appropriate. I was going to talk about hummingbirds a little more today, too. So
there
the whole
you go.
segue.
Okay.
They are back. I've got them at my feeder.
Yay!
Oh, great. I have not seen any yet. I've not seen any Orioles yet. I have not seen very many more barn swallows, but they're all back in the area. I've seen a few barn swallows, but I've not seen or heard the Oriole. I imagine here in this next week we'll see lots of that activity. So if you haven't gotten those feeders out, get them out.
Out, waiting for the birds to come.
There you go. Mary, you're our big winner this morning of a $20 gift card to Waddell's. Can you hold on the line for a moment?
I sure can, guys.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And we will be back with more Nature Watch after this on WKZO.
What's the best way to celebrate Arbor Day? By planting a tree, of course. The plant experts at Waddell's recommend planting a tree for a better tomorrow. Waddell's founder, Harley Waddell, said one of the noblest things someone can do is to plant a tree that will give shade to someone they'll never know. You can continue this noble tradition by planting a tree at your school, your church, a park, or in your own landscape. Check out the great selection of trees ready for Arbor Day planting that are arriving daily from Waddell's Nursery Farm. Each tree filters carbon dioxide from the air and provides beauty and shade. Right now, save 20% on fruit trees like peach, cherry, and apple. Save 25% on any shade tree in stock, including maples, oaks, and locust trees. And take 30% off all flowering trees, crabapple, dogwoods, redbuds, and more. Waddell's is your source for more than 170 tree varieties, most of them locally grown and all on sale now through next Wednesday. Celebrate Arbor Day at Waddell's Nursery Florist and Garden Center.
WKZO.
I like the local news.
More local news on the radio than any other station in town. And online, too, at WKZO.com.
841 Nature Watch continues with Gary Miller. And I want to reiterate again, we have a pretty good-sized power outage in the Northwest Portage area. It looks to involve over 2,000 customers.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, just wanted to get that mentioned in. Let's talk more birds.
Oh, maybe you have to just get, can't watch the TV or anything. You don't have any power, so maybe get those binoculars out, watch for birds.
Yeah.
Because today is National Go Birding Day.
Okay.
So something to do instead of watching the TV. Maybe get the kids involved to see how many different birds you can sight today.
I smell a theme to the show, folks. I really do.
And yesterday was Arbor Day.
Yes.
And so we always talk about planting trees for Arbor Day.
Yeah.
And so we have a great tree selection at Waddell's right now, and there's some sales going on. But I mentioned that because now's a great time to plant a tree, and you can plant trees not only for yourself and the environment, but for the birds. So you got lots of benefits you get from planting trees, and it's not too cold out or too hot out, so now's a great time. You don't work up too much of a sweat digging those planting holes. So.
Aha. Okay.
But a great time to plant trees and have those areas for the birds. Got to be a place to roost, to nest, hang a bird feeder for them. So lots of activity. The sort of interesting this last week, we were doing a little work in the yard, and my wife found a cocoon that actually on a maple tree branch that had fallen down from the tree. And this cocoon was quite large, almost about 1.5 inches long. And it was made up of lots of leaves wrapped around it. And so I thought I might know what it is, but I wanted to look for sure. It was actually a polyphemus moth leaf cocoon. And they will do that. Maple trees are one of the plants that their larvae feed on. And But this was very well camouflaged. This looked like a dead brown leaf that was sort of wrapped around a branch or so. But and you could shake it a little bit, and you could hear that that cocoon, inside the cocoon there was a little animal in there. So we put it in a safe spot to see if it gets a little warmer here and watch it actually emerge from that, hopefully, and hopefully it survived the winter. Polyphemus moths are large, very, very large. And so they're really neat. They have these almost looks like eye spots on their wings when they open their wings up. But you can actually hold a polyphemus moth in your hand, and if their wings are extended, it'll cover your entire hand. So very, very large moth. It was fun to see, something a little bit different. If you remember last week, I mentioned that somebody had cited a confirmed sighting of a summer tanager up in Marquette in the UP. Summer tanagers usually don't migrate this far north or nest this far north. Maybe in southern Ohio or southern Indiana is about as far north as they come. We had a confirmed sighting in Berrien County this last week. So I don't know if it's a sign of climate change or not, but some of those birds tend to be coming a little bit farther north.
Okay.
And talking about bird migration, not a lot of activity predicted tonight in the forecast maps, but tomorrow night and Monday night, extremely high migration.
Is this because of the impending weather event?
Yes. Weather has an impact.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about that, but it's all over all of the news channels as well that we could be seeing some rocky weather Monday night into Tuesday.
Yeah, so Monday might be a change, but I know tomorrow night, very high migration predicted. Just as high predicted for Monday here, but Monday night might not be quite as strong as because actually just south of it is the huge migration mass of birds coming up. They're predicting just over 300 million birds migrating tomorrow night in the U.S.
That's amazing. How do you? Did they just come up with that number?
No, they actually estimate because they actually use radar. They've got radar tracking stations all over the U.S. and they look at those radar maps. And typically, most of that bird activity is in the first 3 hours of nighttime, and they can actually pick up those flocks on radar. And they with all the research they've done all over the years, they can actually sort of fairly accurately predict how many birds are flying. So, like here in Kalamazoo County, they're talking about 0 to 6,000 birds migrating, and it's a low migration tonight. So that's birds per kilometer per night. So if you got not quite half a mile in that kilometer, you can see about 6,000 birds. Tomorrow night and Monday night, they're predicting well over 11,000 birds. So it's going to be significant. You look at Birdcast, you can actually get a local prediction forecast on that. That's part of the Cornell Ornithology Lab. So the great resource are the folks that put out the Merlin app, another great resource. And so it's fun to see that. They do typically a 72-hour, 3-day prediction forecast. They're talking about maybe extending that. And so it'd be interesting to see. You can actually sign up for bird alerts. So if you have a certain bird that's migrating in your area that they've been sighted, you'll get some alerts from that. So neat resource, something to watch how the birds migrating. And they track those in the fall, too, when the fall migration happens. Speaking of migration, monarchs are back. There's been a few sightings of some monarchs here in the upper Midwest, mostly about the far north that I've seen so far is northern Illinois and Indiana. But here in the next week or two, we'll probably see some monarchs. So if we keep that warmth they're predicting. And so that'll be good to see. So I did mention, make sure you get your hummingbird feeders out. Make sure you have your Oriole feeders out. So if you need a new feeder or you need new nectar supply, new jelly supply, we've got that all at Waddell's. So.
Oh, okay.
So make sure you get those feeders out because, one, with the hummingbirds, there are some flowers out right now. They need to have that consistent food source because they're trying to build nests, etc. And need that energy after their migration. The same thing with the Orioles. They need that consistent food source. So there's quite a few insects active out there now because of the weather and warmth, and as evidenced by all the splats on the windshield. You can always see when the insect activity has increased considerably. A couple other things coming up this next week. On Monday night, the Audubon Society of Kalamazoo has their meeting at the People's Church. You can find their information out on their website. And they're actually going to be talking, they have a gentleman in talking about the oak savanna restoration in the Allegan State Game Area, one of the wildlife biologists from the DNR. So that should be interesting. You can actually link in with that via Zoom, too, if you cannot make it in person. This next week, Saturday, the Kalamazoo Astronomical Society has another public viewing session at the Kalamazoo Nature Center. And this week they're going to be talking about the moon and spring star clusters. And very coincidental, Saturday, May 3rd is also International Astronomy Day. Yeah. So you can celebrate both at the same time. So that occurs from 9 p.m. to midnight on Saturday. Next Saturday morning, Wolf Lake Fish Hatchery and the Audubon Society actually have their beginning birders walk. Birders of any experience, and they usually have a few binoculars to supply, but they'll walk around the Wolf Lake Fish Hatchery and see all the different birds there. And occasionally they're doing wildlife or wildflower walks there. So actually on the 10th of Mother's Day weekend, they're doing a little bit of a wildflower walk around the Wolf Lake Fish Hatchery. Neat activities. There's lots of volunteer activities and all the various organizations doing cleanup of invasive species. And so check out the various websites, Southwest Michigan Land Conservancy. They all have some neat volunteer activities. So the ruby-throated hummingbird is the only hummingbird that's in this part of the U.S., and they're fun to watch. I remember quite a few years ago, for several years, my parents' house, if you were in one of up on the second floor looking at one of the windows in the maple trees in the front yard, you were high enough that you were just above the hummingbird nest that was on the top of a branch, and it was just sort of plastered there. Oh. Very, very small nest, but it was fun to actually be able to see the hummingbird sitting on the nest, which you usually don't, but the nests are very, very small. And they can actually beat their. So I was actually doing my trivia question: how many beats wing beats can the hummingbird do with their wings? Huge range. So I thought, well, that's too much of a range. Yeah. So typically they say about that 40 to 50, 60 or so. That's pretty well average. About 53 or so times a second. But the range sometimes as high as maybe as 80 or more beats per second. You can't even see that. So one of the fun activities I saw suggested on, I think it was on the Cornell site, Ornithology Lab site, that you could do with kids is see if you can get kids to try to mimic a hummingbird and try to flap their arms 53 times a second. Maybe a good way to use up some energy or something if they're getting that sort of cabin fever and they're not outsiders.
Yeah. Well, Marion Lawton said that she's already sighted hummingbirds at her residence. If you've seen some at yours, give us a text or a call, 382-4280, or text 80373. Let us know if you've seen them. Yeah,
and if you've seen any orioles, because I know that there were confirmed sightings farther north here in Michigan. So, yeah. I like I said, I've not seen or heard any yet here myself.
Well, we had a problem last night. The Orioles and Tigers were rained out. Oh, those Orioles. Sorry. Yeah,
okay. Those are Baltimore Orioles, too, but not the bird type.
I'm horrible. 269-382-4280 if you want to join in on this chaos this morning.
So a little interesting tidbit when you're watching the hummingbirds at the feeder, and you can sort of maybe spout out some facts or so. So hummingbirds have extremely short legs, and so they actually can't walk or hop. So all they do is about shuffle along a perch. So they really can't walk or hop. They just because their legs are so short. And they typically prefer orange or red flowers, though it's not necessary to color that nectar in the feeder, but it helps. But usually the feeders have some red on them, so it helps tremendously. It's fun to watch. I have a couple hummingbird feeders out, and I have a male hummingbird typically every year. There's a maple tree not too far away, about 20, 30 feet away, and that male hummingbird will sit up on a branch up about 15, 20 feet in the air and just watch the feeders and make sure nobody else comes in to feed on his feeders. I remember years ago watching hummingbirds around my parents' feeders, and it was almost like aerial dog fights because there would be so many hummers flying around. So it's fun to watch.
Oh, there you go.
So so watch when you're walking around, too, because we've got nesting birds, ground nesting birds. Killdeer are back, and those eggs look like gravel when you're walking. So look down, too, besides looking up and seeing what birds are around. Ruby-throated hummingbirds have the largest breeding range of any North American hummingbird because they cover pretty well most of the 48 states, lower 48 here. Male hummingbirds typically don't stick around too long. Pairs are together long enough for courtship and mating, just in a matter of days to weeks. And then he's off on his own and may begin migration by early August. So typically, when you start seeing hummers migrate in the fall, the males are already leaving the area. They typically, like I said, place their nest on a branch, usually of a deciduous or conifer tree. They're accustomed to human habitation, so sometimes you may see those little nests even on a loop of chain or wire or even extension cords if they're out there. Oh. So sort of neat to watch them. Their nest, they actually use some lichens in that and some spider silk to help hold those nests together.
Oh, okay. Excuse me for that little cough there. Carol joins us this morning on WKZO. Hi, Carol.
Good morning.
Hi, Carol.
Gary. This is Carol from Vicksburg.
Hi, Carol.
I just wanted to report that I saw my first rose-breasted grosbeak this morning.
Oh, wow.
And you hadn't mentioned that, so I was a little shocked this morning to see that one. So,
yeah, I was looking at the Michigan Rare Bird Alert list, and every week they post sightings, both confirmed and unconfirmed, all the different bird species, and there were a few of the rose-breasted grosbeaks actually listed in there. Nothing confirmed that I remember in southwest Michigan. And so I usually look and see where they're at because they'll post for all over the state. And then they have a volunteer staff that sort of looks at the photos people submit and descriptions and confirms whether they're actually the birds that they had sighted. So, but
yeah, well, that was a nice surprise when I got up this morning and looked out at my feeder and saw that there was one back. I don't usually see a lot of them, but there's usually at least a couple pairs.
Yeah, so there, it brings up a point that you want to continue feeding, and you're still safe feeding despite the avian bird flu that's around. Take precautions if you have a backyard chicken flock. May want to really try to control that access, but if you don't have that backyard flock, songbirds typically don't transmit too much of the flu. We were just reading an article earlier this week at work that about from the DNR, and typically there's a few of them that will transmit, but the percentage is very, very low, and so you're still safe.
There's none around me here, but actually it's back at feeder right now.
But yeah, it's important to keep those feeders going because the birds are tired from and hungry from their migration. They're trying to build nests, try to attract a mate, so they have all this activity going on, and last thing they want to do is spend all day long looking for food, and they can't build nests. So having that good constant food source for them is good.
Okay, well, I just thought I'd make that report.
Yeah, thank you, Carol.
Thanks, Carol.
Yeah, thank you for your program. I enjoy it.
Thank you.
Hey, we appreciate the call, Carol, and thank you. 269-382-4280 if you ever want to join us. We have about a minute and change, maybe a little more left.
So watch those feeders. Like I said, they've got all that activity. If you have a chance, because a lot of times the birds they do that migration, most of them at night. Try to keep as many of those night lights out as they can. That disturbs their flight patterns. And watch around your yard, especially when you have a chance on weekends or even early evening before it gets dark. Those birds will start getting active, becoming into feeders in that. So that's a good time to try to observe those birds, either early morning or later in the day. And so I had a raccoon get on our bird feeder, and it was quite the acrobat. I have a squirrel baffle on the post that the bird feeder is on, and that raccoon somehow got around that squirrel baffle shield and just could reach the little perch area on the feeder and pull itself up by that tips of one paw. That's how he got down. We didn't see him get up there, but my wife called me and said, "Hey, you got to come see this." And when he was going down, we saw how she took some photos of it. So one of my projects this weekend is to add a raccoon shield on the post so the raccoon and the squirrels can't get to the feeder.
Oh, my goodness.
So they got to take some precautions with some of those other critters so you can at least keep some food for the birds. They tend to eat more than they should, and the birds don't have anything available. Yeah. So if you need to see me during the week, stop in at Waddell's, or you can email me at naturewatch@waddells.com and get out there and enjoy the outdoors.
Yeah.
Take some notes of some sightings this week. Call in next week and tell us what you found.
And if you're looking for a blueberry bush, go see that guy.
or trees. We got lots of trees.
There you go. My goodness. And you're there today.
I am there today.
Okay, well, go in and see Gary.
And so we have nice warm weather. It looks like we're going to be pretty warm the next couple of weeks. So maybe seasonal the next day or two, and then we're back up above normal temperatures. So time to enjoy the weather.
Yes, it is.
I've been looking forward to this for several months.
Gary, thank you.
Thank you.
We do appreciate you coming in here every Saturday. And we thank you for listening to this edition of Nature Watch. Tune in each Saturday morning at 8:30 for Nature Watch. It's brought to you by Waddell's Nursery, Floral Garden, and Bird Center at the corner of 12th Street and Millam Road. CBS and local news is up next. Then Andy Waddell is in for our next edition of Over the Garden Fence. That's coming up next, right here on 590 and 106.9 FM, WKZO.